Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, authorities in El Paso are investigating a fatal crash that left one person dead. And a man out of Wharton faces a murder charge in connection to a shooting that took place back in September. And Israel has announced 4-hour-long pauses in the war with Hamas to help civilians reach safer areas.
Well, the rain has arrived, and now we're just waiting for the cold wind to blow. That'll be tonight around midnight. It's going to be very wet for the next 4 days, and we've got some heavier thunder showers south of the city, extending all the way down to Refugio. So look for heavier rain tonight than earlier expected, and look for the wind to blow by tomorrow morning. We'll have all the latest weather coming up in just a few minutes, so stay tuned.
Students in Sherman say they're denied roles in school plays because of their school's gender policy. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Karina Garcia. State Representative District 30 Jeannie Morrison, the longest serving Republican woman in the Texas House, announced today she is not running for re-election. Representative Morrison is serving her 13th term in the Texas legislature. District 30 includes DeWitt, Goliad, Jackson, Lavaca, Matagorda, and Victoria counties. For this legislative session, Morrison was approved to serve on 3 House committees. In 1999, she authored the country's first baby Moses legislation, which approves a desperate mothers program responsible for an alternative newborn abandonment program. Representative Morrison put out this statement, quote, "Serving the people of House District 30 has been the highest professional privilege of my life. I look forward to completing my current term on behalf of the wonderful community that I am blessed to call home," unquote. A Wharton man faces a murder charge in connection with the September shooting death of a man. The Bay City Tribune reports authorities captured 44-year-old Richard Ardell Allen. The body of 46-year-old Larry Henderson Jr. was found on September 5th outside Bay City. Allen was charged with murder and is in the Matagorda County Jail in lieu of $1 million bond. One person is dead and several other people are in a hospital following a multi-vehicle crash Wednesday night. El Paso authorities found at least 7 vehicles involved. Several of them were on fire. 1 person died at the scene, and 7 of the crash victims involved are expected to recover, while 1 had serious injuries. The cause of the crash is currently under investigation. A woman indicted on 11 counts of animal cruelty was expected in court today, but she didn't show up because she was ill. 55-year-old Terry Ellis has a new court date of February 23rd. The incident happened last December, and her co-defendant is 42-year-old Carissa Salinas. She also faces 11 counts of animal cruelty. She was in court today and is expected back January 29th. A Victoria County grand jury indicted both women on April 13th. 25 News Now has reached out to their attorneys for comment. Israel has agreed to daily pauses in the war with Hamas. The Biden administration says that that's a step in the right direction to help civilians reach safer areas. But an IDF spokesperson says these pauses are not a ceasefire and the fighting will continue.
The White House says Israel has agreed to expand daily 4-hour pauses in its war against Hamas in Gaza. The pauses are expected to begin today with announcements made 3 hours in advance. President Biden had been pushing for this step from the Israelis.
It's taking a little longer than I hoped.
The IDF says if Hamas takes advantage of these pauses to initiate combat activities, Israel will take action in response. As the fighting continues, tens of thousands of Palestinians have fled northern Gaza. The United Nations said an estimated 72,000 people have fled to the south through a corridor opened by the Israeli military in recent days. This woman walked from northern Gaza and eventually crossed into Egypt.
Last night it was the first night that I felt sleep, my children too. So for us, for the first time that we feel somehow safe.
Meanwhile, efforts continue to free hostages taken by Hamas during the group's October 7th terror attack on Israel. A source in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office telling ABC News Israel is considering a plan by Egypt and Qatar for a humanitarian pause in exchange for a hostage release. And ABC News has learned that CIA Director William Burns has taken part in those discussions.
We have actively been working to release all the hostages in Gaza, including those Americans.
New video released by Hamas claims to show fierce clashes in Gaza City. ABC News can't confirm when and where these images were filmed, and the Israeli military has also released videos they say shows their expanding operations on the ground and the sea.
It's going to take its time. until Hamas no longer exists.
The Palestinian Islamic Jihad, a militant group based in Gaza that is separate from Hamas, released a video showing two hostages, a woman and a 13-year-old boy, delivering statements. Both of the hostages are critical of Benjamin Netanyahu and thank their captors. A spokesman for the IDF called the video psychological terrorism. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, Jerusalem.
And now let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez.
Well, thank you, Karina. The storm is here, folks. The rain has begun just a little bit earlier, and it's a little heavier at this hour just south of the city. You can see right about there. So those of you that are driving for this afternoon, just know that we're looking for that heavier rain to start rolling into the city. It's all the way down almost 59. In addition to that, the wind will shift around to the north about midnight, and it's going to be much colder tomorrow. We'll have all that coming up in just a moment. Karina, back to you.
Mac, thank you. Here's your viewer poll this afternoon. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote. The question is, are you prepared for Friday's weather? Yes or no? We want to hear your opinion on this. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 6. Victoria police worked this two-vehicle crash around 8 a.m. today at Nueces Street and Navarro. Officers say a black Nissan and gray SUV collided. The SUV rolled. Two people were trapped inside the SUV, and emergency workers had to use the Jaws of Life equipment to rescue them. Police say it appears the SUV failed to yield the right of way. This crash is still under investigation, and both people in the SUV were taken to the hospital. Shannon Martin is running for Victoria County Commissioner in Precinct 3. Martin has served the Victoria Fire Department for more than 35 years, rising from firefighter to the current position of interim fire chief. Martin is active in the organizations like the Victoria Livestock Show, and he served on the local Emergency Planning Commission. Martin retires at the end of January. Incumbent Commissioner Gary Burns is not seeking re-election. A lead male role was taken away from a high school senior who identifies as a transgender male. 20 other students also lost their roles in part to this policy, and now they're speaking out.
Clearly, they don't know the first thing about theater if this is an issue, because even back when Shakespeare was alive and doing plays, men would play the women roles.
Sophomores Natalie Ball and Ellis Winecuff say they are two of about 20 students to lose their roles.
There hasn't been any issues until now.
They say the Sherman High School principal told them for this show they can only play characters with genders matching their birth gender. Ellis and Natalie were both cast as males.
And everybody's just in the hallway sobbing, and somebody's like, "We're all cut from the show." And I just sort of collapsed to the floor.
I was extremely angry.
These two students were not seeking out male roles. They say before auditions, they consented to playing characters of the opposite gender on paper. They were then cast in male roles, adding there were not enough boys to fill all of the male characters. Ball says she's done this before, playing a male chef in a Sherman Middle School production.
It's never been an issue.
In a statement, the district says the show is being postponed until at least mid-January to review inappropriate content. The 80-year-old production has been performed by Sherman High School before.
I think maybe 2018.
This year, the students are not hopeful the show will hit the stage.
The school board, the school district has complete control over our theater program. Our hands are tied.
We'll continue to follow to see how and if Oklahoma plays out.
A 3-decade death row inmate is expected to face execution for murder after losing a clemency appeal this week. You can read this Texas Tribune article at crossroadstoday.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. A manhunt is underway in New Jersey for a suspect involved in the January 6th Capitol riot. Straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5. Also ahead, the Senate Majority Leader has announced a short-term funding bill to prevent a government shutdown. FBI manhunt is still underway in New Jersey as of Thursday for Gregory Yetman. Yetman is a suspect wanted in connection with the January 6th Capitol riot at the U.S. Officers were attempting to serve an arrest warrant to Yetman in Helmetta Wednesday. They say he ran into a wooded area. The town now remains on high alert. A Tennessee college student was hit by a stray bullet Tuesday afternoon, and he has died. 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig was walking on a track near a cemetery when the gunfire rang out. The suspect, 29-year-old Shaquille Taylor, was initially charged with aggravated assault and evidence tampering. The DA says those charges may be updated. Taylor reportedly admitted to firing the shots, and he's currently held on a $260,000 bond, which may also go up since Taylor died overnight. Today, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced proposed legislation to temporarily prevent a government shutdown. Congress avoided a shutdown back on October 1st by passing a stopgap spending bill funding federal agencies through November 17th. This comes amid anticipation for House Speaker Mike Johnson to reveal his plans.
In a little over a week, the federal government will shut down if Congress does not come together to pass a bipartisan extension of funding. Today, I am taking the first procedural step for the Senate to move forward on a legislative vehicle we can use next week to pass a temporary extension to avoid a government shutdown.
His move shows the House and Senate are likely headed for a clash in the shutdown fight, but the Senate measure could be used if the GOP-controlled House cannot pass a continuing resolution without controversial partisan measures. If the Senate passes it, the House would have to approve it or a shutdown would be triggered. If you're planning on joining in on a run this holiday season, the health experts say you need to prepare now to avoid getting hurt later.
'Tis the season for themed races, but you could trot your way toward an injury if you don't train properly.
Just going literally from the couch to the 5K is not a really good idea.
Orthopedic surgeon Timothy Miller with the Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center says not preparing your body can lead to injuries like muscle strains, tendinitis, IT band syndrome, even stress fractures from overuse.
You put a lot of additional stresses on your body when you do that. And not just on the musculoskeletal system where we think about it mostly, but also on the cardiovascular system as well.
Miller says if you're just starting to run, see a doctor to make sure you're healthy enough to take on long distances. If everything checks out health-wise, he says to start slow, training at least a month out for a 5K, building up mileage gradually. He also suggests varying the terrain.
So running on hard surfaces, for example, all the time, like hard sidewalks, hard pavement, can put a lot of additional stress on your body from what we call ground reaction forces, leading to injuries.
Have proper footwear that's supportive and fits well. Miller says to go up a half or full size in your running shoe to accommodate foot swelling. And he recommends breaking in new shoes before a race.
That means training them for at least a week or two to make sure you're comfortable with what they're going to feel on your feet.
Miller advises fueling your body, and even when it's colder outside, hydration is still critical. For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
There are celebrations after a tentative deal was reached between SAG-AFTRA and major TV and movie studios, putting an end to the 118 days of striking. SAG-AFTRA shared the details on social media. They told its members the contract is valued at over $1 billion and includes above-pattern minimum compensation increases, unprecedented provisions for consent and compensation that will protect members from the threat of AI. And for the first time, it establishes a streaming participation bonus.
It was 100% worth it. 100% worth it. It's a seminal deal, and it's just an amazing time for our union. It really is.
The Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers released a statement Wednesday night saying the organization was pleased to have reached a deal. Further details of the agreement will come out Friday once the deal goes to the SAG-AFTRA National Board for review and consideration.
Well, the weather has showed up, folks. It's going to be a sloppy couple of about 4 or 5 days of very sloppy cold weather. The rains are getting actually kind of heavy right now. The temperature is still, however, on the mild side, 71 degrees. Don't have the high. Well, yeah, we got up to 79, exactly where we expected, but that's going to be dropping. We'll probably have about a 25-degree drop for tomorrow. Now 7/10 of an inch of rain so far, and I think we're going to exceed 1.5 inches just today alone. So we've got about 5 solid days of cold, wet rain, and we'll be talking more about it coming up in a moment. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Did I tell you it was going to rain? And it's raining, right? All right. In fact, it's getting a little heavier than even I expected. Here we are in the city, and you can see right about here, see all this red? These are heavier thunderstorms that are existing from pretty much Victoria down to Refugio, as you see right about there, even all the way down to Beeville. So those of you south of the city are going to be seeing heavier rain, and we've already had 3/4 of an inch just today alone. This is just the beginning of a rather prolonged period of sloppy weather we haven't seen in quite some time. As we showed you yesterday, it was a lot of it coming up from the southwest. It's now all over the state. So all that warm, dry weather, it's gone. Everybody's getting some sort of rainfall. And here is where the front is located. It's just south of San Antonio. You can see how they've dropped to 67. We're still in the 70s. San Angelo's in the 50s and Amarillo's in the 50s. So this is not a bitter cold kind of situation, but it is a cold and wet kind of couple of days that we're going to be dealing with. As I mentioned, the tropics in the Pacific are having something to do with it. You can see how the moisture is getting caught up in the upper winds, and it's going right on top of us. This is why we're getting heavier rainfall than you would normally think, than I would normally think for a little cold front this time of year. We're going forward in Future Tracker, and you see right here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Still in the rain. If you're in Austin, Dallas, not so much. We're going to be under the gun. And then we go forward to 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon. You can see how all of the rain will be along the coastal areas. Now, we've got some big football games tomorrow. Some of them are here, some of them are there, some of them are out of town. I will certainly be here later on to fill you in on that activity. But that's Friday. And then we go into Saturday, and what? It's still on the rainy, wet side with the heaviest stuff actually coming down in the Rio Grande Valley or south of us as well. And you can see Saturday afternoon still on the rainy, wet side. So this is going to be about 4 days. And we go with Future Trackers far out as we can go. This takes us all the way to Sunday. And you can see how the heaviest stuff is going to be right along the immediate coastline, but still we're in the 2-inch range for storm totals. So this is going to be a significant event. Now tonight we'll get down into the 50s because the wind comes in about midnight. Then tomorrow the temperature barely in the low 60s. So it'll be cold, or colder, 25 degrees colder, windy and quite wet. We're looking for a significant amount of rain over the next couple of days. As we look at your day planner for Port Lavaca, we're looking at a 61 morning low, but only getting up to 63 as an afternoon high as the north wind comes in. Pretty much cold and rainy all day long. And then for tomorrow, we're looking for shower activity in Cuero with a low of 58 and only getting up to 61. So showers, 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 and rain. Now the extended outlook, here's the interesting part. I'm calling it an alert day tomorrow because all of you need to find a coat to wrap up the kids for morning school and or the windbreaker and the jacket. 80% Friday, 70% on Saturday, 50% on Sunday, and Monday is the first time we might get some breaks in the activity until about Tuesday of next week. So get the kayak out. We may need it sometime over the weekend. We'll be back a little bit later on. That's your 7-day forecast. Want to remind everybody that we do have a QR code. We want you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone, and you'll have the latest information. Here's Karina.
Thank you, Matt. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a look at your stocks. Plus, Cruise is recalling all of its self-driving cars for a much-needed software update. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow down 220 points, the S&P 500 down 35 points, and the Nasdaq down 129 points. Oil up 41 cents, closing at $75.74 a barrel. General Motors self-driving vehicle subsidiary Cruise has recalled all 950 of its autonomous vehicles. This is for a software update so it can change the way the car responds after an impact is detected. Last month, Cruise paused all of its public testing operations nationwide after an accident in California that left a woman critically hurt. In its report to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Cruise said the cars will return to service once updates are completed. Gas prices across Texas are still falling. AAA Texas reports the average gallon of regular unleaded fuel is $2.86, the lowest gas price average in the U.S. That number is 31 cents less per gallon compared to a year ago. AAA Texas reports the average gas price in Victoria is $2.73 a gallon. That's down 5 cents from a week ago and 43 cents lower than 1 month ago. AAA says crude oil prices dropping are leading to a drop in retail gasoline prices. And stay with us. We'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, a couple in the crossroads are the finalists for a Texas Farm Bureau Award. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight right after 25 News Now at 5.
Coming up tonight, the images just in, the U.S. airstrikes, retaliatory strikes. Also, the deputies ambushed in the hospital tonight. The college freshman hit with a stray bullet. She's now died. And the passenger plane that took off for the U.S. with windows missing or damaged. Next.
A couple are finalists for a state award from the Texas Farm Bureau. Cassidy and Haley Hayes are in the race for the Outstanding Young Farmer and Rancher Award. They grow corn, cotton, soybeans, and raise show pigs and steers for 4-H and FAA students to exhibit at local, state, and national shows. Cassidy judges livestock shows across the nation, and Haley is an AgLife Extension agent in Calhoun County. The state winner will be named next month in Frisco. Wow.
That would be Frisco, Texas, not San Francisco.
No, I think they got that one.
Okay.
It is kind of frisky out there, though.
Yes, it is. It's going to be even more sloppy when the wind blows starting tonight. So right now we're getting some fairly significant thunder showers, especially south of the city toward Refugio. If you're driving, you might even see some roadways that are going to get ponding of water. So do be cautious as you drive. Tonight at midnight, the wind blows out of the north, and it'll be much cooler tomorrow. In fact, we're looking for high temperatures about 60 degrees on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So folks, the most unusual thing about this whole thing, it's just not a front that passes through and is gone. This is going to be here like this, sloppy, cold, and wet for 5 days.
For 5 days?
By Tuesday, you're going to start complaining. but it's going to be like this for a while, all weekend long. So here's my advice. Hot chocolate, Netflix, sitting on the couch all weekend long. How about that?
I like that. And you know what? I'll never complain about rain after the summer we had.
Absolutely. And you know, you were talking about the farmers there. Everybody's going to be real happy at the end of this one.
I agree. Alrighty, thank you, Mac. And thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with Dave Amir is up next.